great conjunction is the end of the world. Or the beginning. End, begin, all the same. Big change. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Hello and welcome to another tarot card reading from planetfrog. This again is in the theme of the Skeksis, or the Dark Crystal, which was a famous movie, probably his best, by Jim Henson. And I thoroughly recommend anybody that's not familiar with that movie to check it out, because it is prophetic in many ways. I'll be using tonight, this deck. It's the Dark Crystal Tarot card deck, beautiful deck, and it features a lot of the main characters, the main characters from the first movie and also the Netflix adaptation, which, to be honest, I couldn't quite get into. I find the first movie was sufficient enough to set my mind whirring. Tonight I'm going to be looking at this spread, which is again my attempt to plumb into the Skeksis agenda as it's unfolding in these tumultuous times of 2024, being the 1st of May. Mayday seems like a good day to do it. We have here the present moment, as I like to call it, the Wheel of Fortune. These are all based on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, so they're all of that kind of nature. The second, we have the Emperor, which is the past. We have the near future, which is the Hanged Man, and I've added an extra card in here to see if there was a bit of clarity we could get. So this might be something that's inhibiting the outcome for the near future to move on to the last card, which is the more long-term future, which is the Ace of Gems. In this tarot card pack, shards are the equivalent of wands, gems are the equivalent of pentacles, and we don't have any stones in this reading, but they are the equivalent of swords. And you do have vials as well, which are the equivalent of cups from the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, but we'll just stick with what we've got here. So, in order to read these cards, we'll start with the first card, which is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, the Wheel of Fortune, it represents change, cycles, decisive moments, luck, unexpected events. So from the Skeksis' point of view, it looks like, as much as it might be for the Gelflings or the pod people, they are in a state of turmoil as well. We could just look at the royal family at the moment. Nobody's seen Kate for quite a while, which is a bit concerning if you're a royalist. Probably not concerning if you're not a royalist. I'm not a royalist, but I just like to notice these things. We've also had the strange incident just in the last few days of horses going a bit mad in London. 2 horses running down the streets of London, one covered in blood, a white one. It was very dramatic scenes, with a black one there nearby also running along. Very strange things going on in the world right now. So we have the Wheel of Fortune here as the present moment. We'll move on to the past moment. I'm still thinking about in terms of the Skeksis themselves. So we have the Emperor here. The Emperor, of course, represents stability, structure, protection, authority, control. Now, because we are talking about the Skeksis here, I'm going to think about the reverse meaning of this as well, which can imply a tyranny or domination, stubborn, greed, a lack of discipline, perhaps recklessness. So we have that there. Moving on to the near future, we have the Hanged Man. It's one of those lovely mystics there, who I very much identify with at times. The mystic here, he's he's the Hanged Man in the traditional tarot deck, and the Hanged Man, of course, represents sacrifice, waiting, uncertainty, lack of direction, contemplation. From a reverse point of view, it might involve stalling or disinterest, avoiding something. And the card that I have, which may be inhibiting or adding colour to the Hanged Man, is the Knight of Shards. As I say, the shards in this particular tarot deck represents the wands. So this is a Knight of Shards, represents maybe a kind of hero kind of energy coming in, a free spirit, a level of rebellion, a level of determination, maybe a little bit wild, a little bit uncontained. So I would say the Knight of Shards in this particular reading represents the awakening that's occurring in the world at the moment. And the final card, the long-term future, is the Ace of Gems, which is the equivalent of the Ace of Pentacles, and that represents, for a standard reading, new opportunities, a beginning of something which promises abundance, prosperity, money, some sort of financial stability. But in a negative reading, it could mean mischances, scarcity, bad investments, or something like that. So I'm trying to look at these cards, even though they're all upright, I'm trying to look at them from a point of view which also takes into account, at least to some degree, their reversals. So this reading tells me that the Skeksis plan, the Skeksis energy, if you will, is actually almost on parallel with the mystic pod people Gelfling energy that we are witnessing at the moment around the planet. You've got all kinds of challenges to the throne at the moment. The Emperor here, that represents the New World Order, the cult, the cabal, the Illuminati, however you want to call it, the powers that were, as I think Amanda Ellis calls them. And they are holding on for dear life, and they are ready to push through their agenda to hold on to that power and control. And they are presented at the moment, like the rest of humanity is, with a wild spinning wheel, which is unclear in terms of what it offers. It could be good luck for them, it could also be terrible luck for them. It may represent unwelcome changes. So that may imply that they're running into some kind of resistance here, and certainly that would be confirmed with the Knight of Swords, Knight of Shards, which is the equivalent of the Knight of Wands, and they are in a hanged man state here for the immediate future. That's not to say that they're not pushing hard through. We've got all these things at the moment that are being pushed through at a real fast pace. We've got the digital ID, the central bank digital currencies. We have the wars that are going on now in Ukraine and Israel. Just in the past few days, we've had news that the states might be sending people in under the guise of at least building a little jetty or something to drop food off, but they've been given the okay to go ahead and use weaponry, which would ultimately mean boots on the ground. So then also at the same time you've got Europe, which is talking about sending troops over to the Ukraine. There's rumours that they already have. At the same time, you've got characters like Elon Musk, who are creating all manner of a shit show on the internet. There was a recent situation, of course, with Australia and the stabbing of a Christian, well, he was sort of a priest, Orthodox priest, and the Australian government was trying to stop the video being shared, and Elon Musk said no, we'll stop it being shared in Australia, but you're not going to dictate to the rest of the world what Twitter or X can publish. So he is one of those renegade types of energy, but certainly I think one has to be careful, because we might focus too much on characters like Elon Musk as being some sort of hero figures, when in fact they are maybe just the tip of the spear of a larger movement of consciousness which is pushing back against the tyranny that's unfolding. Of course, there might be a lot of people that can't see the tyranny unfolding at the moment as well. The pod people were kind of like that. They were sort of dreamers. They were kind of ravers, wonderful-hearted characters, but very vulnerable with a certain naivety or ignorance. And you could argue, is it willful ignorance or willful naivety? Is it a level of intellectual avoidance that stops them from looking deeper into these things? Well, whatever the answer is, in the traditional story of the Dark Crystal, you have the Gelflings, Jen and Kira, and they represent that kind of awakening, aware consciousness, and the Gelflings, I suppose, ultimately need to find each other, as was represented by Jen and Kira meeting. The long distance view is the Ace of Gems, which of course represents the Ace of Pentacles. That represents a new start. This new start, undoubtedly in this reading, represents the long-term plan, the long-term agenda of this anti-Gelfling consciousness. And what is inhibiting them at this point from getting there is the Knight of Shards, which is the rebellious spirit. This is a primal spirit, and it is indeed showing itself, I think, more clearly every day in the world. Whether it's enough to overthrow the Skeksis agenda is still yet to be seen. There are an awful lot of things moving on the table at the moment, and it's almost overwhelming for most people to comprehend what's going on. If we are to see, of course, the Knight of Shards as representing some aspect of the Skeksis, it could imply the long-term effects of some kind of medical intervention. And those haven't been shown. It's not clear still what those effects are, though anybody paying attention will be obviously aware of the serious concerns around that issue. I'm going to prefer to look at the Knight of Shards on this occasion as being representative of the mystic Gelfling pod people kind of energy, which is disrupting this longer term goal of the Skeksis. Anyway, that may well have all sounded like absolute gibberish to you, but this is a small channel, and we're very grateful for any attention you give us, especially a like or a subscribe. if you'd like me to do a reading on something in particular, then let me know. I'm really interested in using the tarot cards in this incredibly modern environment of artificial intelligence and computers and the World Wide Web, to actually start getting some insights into these times, because the tarot cards themselves are a little bit like a form of artificial intelligence. They have all the information there, and as a reader we just have to tap in to make sense of them. We are, in a sense, acting as the large language model at this point. So anyway, I've talked long enough, but thank you very much for listening. Do check out our website, divinealchemyhealing.co.uk, and hopefully we'll see you again. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and thank you for existing. Bye bye.